Krome Cast. Take it out. I'm Sam Major, Commercial Director for Krome Technologies, and joined once again by Ben Randall, Technical Director.
Hi, Sam.
Welcome to the first Krome Cast of 2024. As we said on the last one of 2023, there's a slight focus change on these, so far less of me, a bit more of you guys. And today we're actually going to have an in-depth kind of how-to guide, as it were, specifically focusing on Hyper-V and VMware.
Yeah.
But Ben, if you give me the three things, I guess, that we're going to focus on in this podcast.
Yeah, sure. There's the reasons why you might want to move away from VMware to Hyper-V.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll have a reasonably quick demo, a couple of different operating systems, target operating systems for that migration, as well as a lab which we've pre-recorded.
Yeah.
And then finally, we'll go over some of the sort of prerequisites and the considerations in that.
Perfect. Okay, I guess we'll start at the top then. We knew it was all coming. It's been happening for a while. Excuse me, but the acquisition of VMware by Broadcom.
Yes.
It's just been very interesting to see how that has panned out, and now we're seeing a lot of certainly our customer base, and you got to read the industry press that I think when the announcement was made, it was 2 out of 5 people were considering migrating, and now we're certainly feeling a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And again, I read there's a lot more than that. So yeah, I think that's been an interesting, it's obviously driving the reason we're doing this podcast, but it's an interesting point.
It's moved a lot quicker than certainly I expected as well. It's been a very quick transition. Once they got that deal through, they're making waves already.
Well, we've had lots of staff cuts, lots of products have disappeared. It's now a subscription-only model, so they've not sat on their laurels. I mean, they set out their intentions and they followed through very, very quickly. But
yeah,
it is, I think it's worrying. I mean, we're a customer as much as a supplier of VMware, and as a commercial person, I'm talking to our customers about renewals and so on. And in many instances, the new subscription model is reassuringly expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that's not just the unknown of what's it going to look like in a few years' time, but just the cost of it as well. Now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those people who are looking at upgrading to away from what they're on now, that cost is significant, and Hyper-V has always been there as a competitor to VMware vSphere, and obviously this will bring that into much sharper focus, I think.
Yeah. I also think, excuse me, but I always, rightly or wrongly, and obviously you're technical, you know better than I, but I always almost viewed, forgive me, Hyper-V as the poor relation to VMware. And I think if I went back 5, 6, 7 years, when I'm advising customers, I say you want to spend the premium and you want to go for VMware. I think what we've seen, and again, we use VMware. I know you've been using Hyper-V for about 50% of our systems for the past year, 18 months.
Something like that. Yeah, we can gradually move over to it. Yeah.
And I think now it's quite a close race between the two.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely, as a product, Hyper-V has matured a lot. So it's caught up in many ways with a lot of the features. Some people may argue they prefer one or the other, but there's a lot of personal preference there rather than strictly speaking, one really can't do something. So.
Okay. Well, listen, I think this is, we know the reasons why. People that tuned into this haven't tuned in for you and I spitballing this round. You've been busy in the lab, pre-recording. We say pre-recording, so we're going to cut to them. But you've done a couple of migrations that people can sit through. We will have chapters on this, so Ben, you'll very quickly tell us the ones you've done migrations on, and don't sit through them all. We can cut to one that's relevant. So.
Exactly. I mean, I did migrations of VM running to Server 2016, Server 2019, and Server 2022. I found that 2016 and 2019 were essentially exactly the same. The operating systems looked the same. The steps I had to go through were identical. There's only a very minor difference between them and Server 2022, but I felt that there are differences, so it was worth including the two. So it's not essential to watch both if you're really familiar. I think, as I say, they are very similar, but it's worth including that because there are differences.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll jump into that in just a second, and then off the back of that, I think we should go through some of the potentially challenges, pitfalls, considerations, prerequisites, and all that sort of stuff for anyone that is, considering it themselves or looking to speak to a partner about it, but wants to make sure they're armed with the right questions.
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Okay, well, let's jump into your demo.
This is a demonstration of migrating a Server 2016 virtual machine from VMware to Hyper-V using Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Now, as we look at the Virtual Machine Manager window here, you can see that I've already set up the Hyper-V hosts and connected them to Virtual Machine Manager. And as you can see, the VMs here are the ones which are running in Hyper-V already. I've also added the VMware cluster to this to Virtual Machine Manager, and you can see the VMs which are running in there. Now, the server that we're going to migrate is this one here, which is named Lab 2016-1. It's running server 2016. First step for us is to uninstall the VMware tools, and then we shut the machine down. So if I hop over to the vSphere console here for that machine, I can literally just start removing the VMware tools, just the straightforward uninstall. Yes. Now this will take a minute or two. While this progresses, we should see the virtual network interface card disconnect as the virtual machine loses its drivers for the VMXnet 3 NIC. And similarly, the display should flicker and probably change resolution as the display driver gets removed as well. As you can see, the NIC is disconnected already now. It shows no connection. So, and there's the display just going now, so it's nearly complete. Right now, so the uninstall is complete. It's asking us to reboot. I'll say no. I'll say no, as we're due to actually shut down this machine anyway. I'll just hit F5 to refresh. So yeah, the VMware tools is uninstalled. So now I'll just shut down the machine. Normal way. Great, so that's powered down now. So the next thing is waiting for System Center Virtual Machine Manager to realize that that machine is actually not running any longer. This can maybe take it a couple of seconds, maybe a couple of minutes. So what I'll do is I'll pause the recording while that's happening and then resume once that thing is showing us stopped. Okay, the machine has stopped now. Actually, only took a few more seconds. So now we can actually go about the actual migration process or the conversion. So to do that, we click on Home and then Create, and then Create Virtual Machine, and then Convert Virtual Machine. So let's click on that. And now in the browse, we can see the machines which are running on ESX. And as I said earlier, the one that we're looking for is Lab 2016-1. And you see it's Server 2016 standard, so click on OK to select that, and then Next to confirm. We'll keep the same machine name, so click Next. Now the hardware here, so we've got 2 processors and 8 gig of RAM, which is what the specification of that machine was in VMware. We'll leave that as is. We will select Gen 2 hardware though, as this machine has EFI firmware and is running Server 2016, which is obviously newer than Server 2012. So progress, click Next to continue. Now it shows the 2 nodes, the Hyper-V nodes are node 1 and node 2 in this lab. And so we can see that that's happy. It gives us a 4 out of 5 stars. And you can click on rating and see that it meets all the requirements. So we'll just leave it on node 1 and click Next to continue. Now we have to select the volume where the virtual machine is going to be stored. And we should select the cluster shared volume. So select that, click the folder within that volume, virtual machines, click OK. Next to continue. Now come to the network adapter. So the VM network it's in the moment, this vSwitch 0 is the name of the virtual switch in VMware. So we'll click on the pull down and we'll select set switch, which is we've got no VLAN tagging or anything particularly clever going on in the network here. So we just do set switch. And the virtual switch here is as I say, is the Hyper-V switch name. We'll leave the VLANs alone, and then we just go next. We won't change the automatic actions here for power on, power off, along with the host. Doesn't really affect this process at all. So go next. Here's a quick summary of what we're going to do, and we'll just tick the box to start the machine after deploying it. So click Create. And this should start the actual conversion process, which you can see is just starting there. And here's the progress bar for the actual virtual disk conversion. If I jump over to node 1, which is the host, where it's happening, so we can see here that the Ethernet port has become busy. We've got the data being transferred over for the migration. Now, this is going to take a few minutes. As I flick back here, we may see the first steps in the progress bar appear, but this is probably going to take 10 minutes or so. So what I'll do is I'll pause the recording and then resume when this is nearly completed. Okay, so the disk conversion is nearly complete now. We've got to 93%. From past experiences, usually it's very close to completion when it gets to here. You can see at 99 now. Yeah, okay, so that's completed this conversion. Now there's just a couple more stages and the virtual machine will be migrated over and powered on in Hyper-V. Okay, there we go. So if I go back to here to look to the Hyper-V lab, you see the 2016-1 machine is actually running in here, so we should be able to connect to the console. To log in. And we can see. Right. Yes. Once this is logged in, we should be able to verify that the virtual NIC is working. And also from past experience, I realized that what happens is that it runs for a minute or so and then shuts down as one last step of the migration process, conversion process. So as you can see, the NIC has internet access. Should be able to ping the machine. Right. Maybe not. Let's see where we are. A bit typo there. Okay, 210. Yeah, there we go. So yes, we can see the machine showing up there. Let's check full connectivity. Yes, that's looking good. And I expect in a moment we'll see that shutdown which I mentioned. Oh, there we go. Right, and then that's finished. I'll just close that. Now we'll just power it back on again. Connect on the console. Oh. You can see that starting up. Yeah. You should see. Yeah, that's responding. So when that's finished logging in, yeah, there we go. So there you have it. That's a quick demonstration of migrating a Server 2016 virtual machine from VMware to Hyper-V using the Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Okay, so that was a quick demonstration of migrating a Server 2016 virtual machine from VMware to Hyper-V using System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Yep.
Obviously, there are other ways to do it. You've just shown that. It's possible also to use, like, for example, Veeam to back up the virtual machine natively and then restore it into Hyper-V.
And that'd be the same for both demos, essentially.
Yes, exactly. You know, it's fairly platform independent on that case. And a consideration for that is that, I mean, we'll get into more detail on this later, but for when you can actually do a dry run, you can do a restore from your Veeam backup into a lab environment or something like that to verify it's actually going to work.
Okay.
Because obviously, as you could see in the demonstration, we had to power off the source virtual machine. So that's, you know, we can go over that in the final section, but it's well worth bearing in mind.
Okay. Well, let's. I think we'll go over that in a bit more detail at the end. Sure. Should we dive into the second demo, which is
Server 2022? So it's almost exactly the same, just one or two very minor differences, but yeah, we'll cover that as well.
Perfect. Okay, let's get into the second demo.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly demonstrate the migration of a Server 2022 virtual machine from VMware to Hyper-V using the Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager. Now, as you can see in the Virtual Machine Manager console here, I've already added Hyper-V cluster into it, so you can see the machines running on there, and also VMware, so I could see the VMware machine, the virtual machines running in VMware. So the machine we're going to migrate is this Lab 2022-1. Now, the first step is to uninstall the VMware tools. So if I go to the console of the machine, this is the vSphere console and the web user interface. So simply go to Control Panel, uninstall, select VMware tools, uninstall, yes. In a few seconds, you should see the display change. The NIC will remain connected because I believe Server 2022 already has drivers for VMXNet 3 virtual interface. I think that's probably it. Yep, so it wants us to restart. I'll say no because we're going to shut down this machine anyway. I'll do an F5 just to verify. Yep, the VMware tools have gone. Oh, come on. There we go. Right, so just do shutdown. There we go. So that appears to be powered off. So in System Center Virtual Machine Manager, we should see the machine is still showing us running. Sometimes it takes it maybe a minute or so for Virtual Machine Manager to actually realize that the machine is no longer running. So I will just quickly pause the video while that's happening. Okay, the virtual machine just is showing up as stop now. That took it a couple of minutes. So now we can actually proceed with the actual migration. So to do that, we go to Home and then Create and create virtual machine and then select Convert Virtual Machine. And then we can just browse for machines which are eligible for conversion. So you can see all the machines which are powered off on ESX, and we can see this Lab 2022-1, which is the one we want to convert. So click OK. And there's confirmation of the name, so go next. I'm going to keep the same name. Now the configuration, this is the specification it had before, so it's 2 processors and 8 GB of RAM. I'll leave that as is. Now, as this is a Server 2022, which is obviously newer than Server 2012, it also has EFI firmware, so we'll select this as a Gen 2 virtual machine. Click next. That will show the eligible nodes for us to copy this to. So I'll select node 2 this time. It's the top one. Let's say it gives an explanation, so it just says that it meets all the requirements, which is good. And go next. Now for the path, we must select the cluster shared volume. So click down on here, browse through with the virtual machine folder. So click OK, and then next. Now we've got the virtual machine network and virtual switch. Now the virtual switch, this is the name of the virtual switch in Hyper-V, and the VM network there, that's actually the name of the virtual switch in VMware. If I pull down on that. We use set switch. We're just using an untagged network. If we have more networks there, there'll be more to choose from. But we'll just leave that as is. And then automatic actions. We don't need to change these. It's just a behavior and they don't affect the actual migration. So click next on there. So here's our actions. And I'll just tick the box to start the machine after deploying it. So click create. This will start the job. And we should see this in the, there we go, in the job list with virtual to virtual conversion. You can see the progress. So if I jump into node 2, you should be able to see, yes, there's data being copied to it now. You can see the NIC has gone, it's got busy since I clicked that. So this is a 1 gig network. So you can see that's doing its best under the circumstances. So we go back to this and we should start to see progress on the virtual disk conversion, which is the slowest part of this. So I'm going to pause recording this video and resume just shortly before this completes, so we can then watch the rest of the process. Right, so the disk conversion process is nearly completed now. Once that's done, there'll be some very short bit of configuration that occurs against the virtual machine itself, but that just takes a few seconds. So this really shouldn't take much longer. Yep, there we go. There we go. So that is completed. So let's have a look at the virtual machine now. It should be running on here. So yep, now 2022-1 is running. So if I connect to the console, you'll see it's booting up. Okay, we should be able to log in. Give it a moment. It takes a little while to get started, and there's a little bit of additional configuration which it carries out, and it shuts down as part of that. So we expect to see that at some stage in the next couple of minutes while we look at this machine. So that is showing it's got internet access. So yeah, we can ping it. Just verify that is the IP address of this machine. Yes, it is. So let's log in here. You see it's a Hyper-V network adapter. This is good. Never quite sure when it's going to do the shutdown, but it's probably any moment. No, and there we go. It's shutting down. Let's wait for that to complete. That's finished. Right, we'll just power it back on. And once that was powered back on, that was the conversion completed. As you can see there, let's back up. I can ping it.
Yes, so that was the demo of migrating a Server 2022 virtual machine from VMware to Hyper-V using System Center Virtual Machine Manager. As you can see, it was very similar to the 2016 migration. As I mentioned earlier as well, it's also possible to use other methods to do the migration. So one example would be using Veeam to back up the machine natively and then restore just directly into Hyper-V. That will give you the option of not having to shut down the source machine. You can do it into a lab.
So I should focus on that bit, because you said this earlier about having to shut down that machine. Straight away in my head, I went, that must become a problem for larger or especially very large environments?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our lab environment where I've been testing this, it's relatively low spec machines with a 1 gig network. There's a classic lab environment.
Yeah.
And it would take about 10 minutes or thereabouts to convert the virtual hard drive.
Okay.
And I specified a 30 gig drive for those test machines.
Okay.
So it gives you a rough idea. So if you had a machine with multi-terabyte drives, really
but
big.
10 gig.
10 gig will speed things up, or 25 gig, depending on what your network is, the scale of what you're dealing with, will help.
But still a fair bit of time.
It's a consideration. Your VM will have to be off for that time. You'll need to uninstall the VMware tools before you even start. So you're going to have a substantial maintenance window.
Okay.
Using Veeam, you won't need to do any of that because you can restore, you might need to have that maintenance window to have the most recent backup if you finally do it, but at least you can test in advance.
Yep. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm assuming, obviously, we're Veeam partners, so we know Veeam. I'm assuming a similar thing with other backup vendors. Can't call them out. I don't know them. But
exactly. I believe that the same thing. You're backing up the OS and then restoring it into new hardware. So, but Veeam is particularly good at dealing with that. Other things to consider is that there's a now deprecated tool, Microsoft Virtual Machine Converter, which was available up until 2017. Okay. If you search very hard, you can still find it from the Microsoft site. You don't have to go third party on that. But as I say, that's not been supported since 2017. I tried running it against an up-to-date VMware environment and it had trouble authenticating, so it's kind of running out of steam. But if you've got an old, in the past I've used it, so I know it works well on earlier OSs and so on. But if you're all up to date, you're running Server 2022, you're on VMware 7 or 8, you're kind of, your options are limited on that one. Okay. There are also third-party tools, but also I've not examined those in great detail.
Okay. So how do we do it if we're not using the deprecated tool?
Well, I mean, really, to say the recommended, what we've done is use System Center Virtual Machine Manager, which is a fairly heavyweight product. It's not trivial to set that up.
Okay, which we've obviously not shown in the desk. There's a whole other bit to this, which is complex. Will need to be considered as part of any migration. But
absolutely, you're going to have to build that System Center environment, install it. There's licensing considerations which are based on the number of cores that you're going to be of the machines you're actually managing, and so on.
Very similar to the Hyper-V licensing itself in that respect.
Yes, or the VMware licensing. In fact, it's very similar, based along the same lines.
Obviously, being the demo lab, we've used an eval license to enable it to show that it can be done.
Exactly. Yeah. That's enabled us to do that. We've got Visual Studio subscriptions, so we can unpack all this stuff and then get it to work and really see how it goes. But that is it's a fairly heavyweight solution, but it does work. We've labbed it, we've recorded it. It was successful.
So you talked about System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Yes.
Didn't think I'd get that in one go. It's not trivial. It's quite the install project to actually do that in itself. It's a project in itself, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us an idea of the order of magnitude of doing that? Because migration's one thing, but if I've got the preparatory work, what's involved?
Sure. I mean, what I found a considerable obstacle in it is actually just reading all the steps, properly understanding, getting the right prerequisites in place for installing SCVMM. Yeah. You're going to have to install SQL Server or have a SQL Server database available. Yeah. You have to build the server. It needs to be Server 2022 for the latest version, i.e. the Server 2022 version of System Center Virtual Machine Manager.
Yep.
Also, you need to make sure you install Update 2, because according to the documentation, that will considerably improve the speed of the migrations.
Perfect.
So it's going to claim 4 times faster.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that will make a big difference.
It's worth doing. Also, I believe that part of that also means that your Hyper-V hosts that you're doing the migration are going to need to be on 2022 as well. So that's another
consideration.
Really what they're pushing you towards is the latest and greatest of all the whole platform. Yeah, exactly.
Absolute shocker.
It was a shocker,
yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Ben, that's been fantastically useful. Hopefully everyone's found that very useful. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you. This is the start of a kind of new way of doing this. So it's really useful if you can let us know the things you'd like Ben and the team to show you as a how-to, things you benefit from, then please do let us know. Cool. And obviously, thank you for joining us on this episode of Krome Cast. Take it out. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Join us again next time on Krome Cast. Take it out.